Tonight, Donald Trump ratchets up the tariffs on China to 145%.
They've really taken advantage of our country for a long period of time. They've ripped us off.
Stocks take another dive after soaring yesterday, a rally the Democrats call suspicious.
We need to get to the bottom of the possible stock manipulation.
The allegations of insider trading. The conservative leader takes aim at Mark Carney's ability to handle Trump.
Carney's biggest election promise and distraction are empty.
Who's going to get the best deals for Cat?
At Issue hits the road to talk all things campaign with a live audience. Canada tries to lure American doctors north.
The sentiment as a physician here in the United States right now is it's been quite depressing.
The plan to fast-track some applications from south of the border.
From CBC News, this is The National with Asha Tomlinson.
Thanks for joining us. Adrian is on assignment. After Donald Trump's walkback of some global tariffs, relief has faded again to fear. Now the White House is confirming even higher tariffs on China, sending the markets tumbling. They lost a good chunk of what they gained yesterday, the week's turmoil all triggered by the U.S. president's back and forth tariff policy. Democratic lawmakers are raising concerns that Trump and his allies could be trading on inside information and profiting from this chaos, an allegation the administration denies. The White House has admitted to one mistake. As Katie Simpson explains, Donald Trump was wrong yesterday about the sky-high tariff he imposed on China. It's not 125%, it's even higher than that.
Investors remain rattled, with North American markets losing some of Wednesday's gains as the U.S. president fires another shot at China in his trade war.
There'll be a transition cost and transition problems, but in the end, it's going to be a beautiful thing.
China's tariff rate jumping from 125% to 145% after the White House confirmed a previously announced 20% tariff would remain in place.
We'll see what happens with China. We would love to be able to work a deal.
But Beijing is reacting furiously, refusing to back away from its retaliation plan. This foreign ministry spokesman saying the U.S. is trying to choke the throat of other countries, forcing them into compromises and concessions. As the fight between Beijing and Washington intensifies, the EU announced a pause in its retaliation plan.
We want to negotiate. We want to talk.
Trump's team claims it now has 75 countries calling in to reach a deal.
I'm not sure we could ever have enough time in the day to talk to all these countries because they want to talk and they want to talk now.
Trump is facing a new challenge over how the partial tariff pause came together.
We need to get to the bottom of the possible stock manipulation.
It was another volatile start to the trading day Wednesday when Trump's global tariffs kicked in. On social media, Trump wrote, "Be cool. Everything is going to work out well," posting at 9:33 a.m. 4 minutes later, at 9:37, he added, "This is a great time to buy, DJT."
Why did he feel the need to add his initials to this particular post? Was it a signal to his friends and family that he was going to pause the tariffs so they should buy low, knowing the market would boom?
We had a big day yesterday.
While the president didn't address the allegations, his team laughed it off.
I saw like people try to make a big deal out of that. I mean, come on, that's just such a stretch.
Democrats have sent a letter to the White House demanding details about what was happening behind the scenes, calling for an investigation into possible market manipulation.
And Katie, while they brush those concerns aside, Trump's team seems very confident they'll be making trade deals at a rapid pace.
One Trump official says they expect over the next 3 to 4 weeks that the White House will be a high-traffic zone for world leaders. But nothing like this has ever been done before, and trade deals typically take years to negotiate. All of this remains uncharted territory.
Katie Simpson in Washington, thank you.
Thanks.
While the world reacts to the wild swings in Washington, U.S. tariffs on Canada remain unchanged. But Evan Dyer shows us Donald Trump was still a big factor on the Canadian campaign trail.
The shifting policies in Washington are shaking up the Canadian election campaign.
In light of the evolving situation after today's campaigning, I will return to Ottawa. I will convene a meeting.
Mark Carney said he was coordinating Canada's reaction with the European Commission president.
I had an exchange. I understand their decision to have developed countermeasures, but to delay the implementation pending negotiations.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre criticized both Trump and Carney.
And this, of course, happened after Prime Minister Carney boasted that he had had a productive call with President Trump and that he had made, quote, progress. What progress?
Poilievre suggested Carney had failed to get the reprieve other countries had obtained.
Now, I'm not blaming Mr. Carney for the fact that there are even more American tariffs on Canada now than there were when he took office, or for the fact that other countries got a pause in tariffs while he failed to secure one here in Canada.
In fact, Canada and Mexico had both already secured an exemption from the so-called Liberation Day tariffs, and therefore it didn't require a pause. However, earlier tariffs remain.
We have been subject to a series of direct tariffs that are still in place with respect to steel and aluminum, with automobiles.
Provincial premiers also reacted to the latest turmoil. BC's David Eby directed government agencies to look at existing contracts and remove U.S. companies.
These are trade obligations that the president walked away from in order to attempt to destroy our economy and turn us into the 51st state.
While Ontario Premier Doug Ford went on U.S. television calling for calm.
We just need to get rid of these tariffs. We'll drop our tariffs tomorrow if President Trump drops the tariffs.
The tariff situation really hasn't changed over the past week, and yet today Canadian shares dropped again. It's the third time Mark Carney has suspended his campaign to return to Ottawa and deal with developments coming from the Trump administration. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Ottawa.
The Liberals laid out their plan to crack down on crime today. That includes boosting the number of RCMP officers and border agents, and, as Catherine Tunney lays out, pressing ahead with the controversial gun buyback program.
As Liberal candidate Natalie Provost stood at the mic, a memory of another press conference more than 35 years ago after she survived the École Polytechnique massacre.
As a student leader, I felt I had to go back and to talk to my classmates that felt so guilty. So I accepted to do a press conference on December 8, 1989. That was the same size of room in my memory.
Once critical of the Liberals' gun control record, Provost now supporting Mark Carney as he vowed to improve the buyback program for assault-style guns.
You can't be serious about being tough on crime if you're not willing to be tough on guns.
The Trudeau-era program has struggled to get off the ground. It was announced in 2020, but as of December 2024, has only collected a couple dozen guns.
We're not just keeping it, we're reinvigorating and quickly putting it into action.
We'll start off here. The buyback announcement, one of several public safety pledges from Carney.
And we're going to do the same
as he toured a forensic training program, including making it criminal to prevent people from going into their places of worship and making some bail laws stricter. Speaking from a Conservative convention in Ottawa, this advocate for gun owners doesn't think Carney will get the buyback program going, and that's fine with her.
These are guns that are being banned from people who've done nothing to deserve it. They've done nothing to warrant this kind of action from the government. They're being blamed for crimes they didn't commit.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has already unveiled his tough-on-crime strategy, a cornerstone of his pitch to Canadians.
If you want a real change on crime, what you need is a new government, a Conservative government that will lock up criminals with a three-strikes-you're-out law.
Carney's plan also includes a promise to recruit more Mounties and border officers to crack down on guns and illegal drugs coming into this country. Once again, tying campaign issues to Canadians' growing frustrations with the United States. Catherine Tunney, CBC News, Ottawa.
Elsewhere on the campaign trail, the NDP accused the Liberals of planning big cuts to services, while the Conservatives went after housing development fees.
I'm Marina von Stackelberg covering the Conservative campaign. We are just outside of Kitchener, Ontario, where Pierre Poilievre is holding another rally. He spent the morning talking about housing inside a half-built condo in Milton. Poilievre said a Conservative government would reward municipalities that cut down on development fees. Now, cities collect that money to pay for surrounding infrastructure like roads and sewers. Poilievre says they are too high. The Conservatives have been in southern Ontario for 2 nights now. There are a lot of ridings here, and they tend to swing between the Liberals and Conservatives. So this part of the country and suburban Toronto is incredibly important to anyone trying to win an election.
I'm Ashley Burke following the NDP campaign. Leader Jagmeet Singh started the day in Saskatoon, targeting the same riding as the Liberals this week and attacking Mark Carney's promise to balance the government's operational budget within 3 years. Singh alleges that would mean massive cuts, including to health care. Carney firing back, saying no, he won't cut health care. He's promised to maintain transfers to the provinces. But Singh says maintaining spending is basically cutting it because it won't rise with inflation and the growing needs of an aging population. Singh is trying to build on the momentum the NDP saw provincially in the fall election and break into Saskatchewan's Conservative fortress.
This is At Issue Night, and it's a special one. Rosie and the crew hitting the road to talk campaign politics and policies, all in front of an audience in Halifax. We'll get to them in about 15 minutes' time. Tonight, 6 people, including 3 children, are dead after a helicopter crashed into New York's Hudson River. Witnesses describe seeing the chopper fall apart in midair before plummeting into the water. Officials say a family of Spanish tourists was on board. The cause of the crash still unclear. Canada is seeing a record number of measles cases, marking the worst outbreak since the disease was eradicated more than 2 decades ago. Jennifer Yoon now with the renewed efforts to stop the spread.
In Ontario, the epicenter of the outbreak, an urgent effort to vaccinate kids that aren't fully protected.
It was time to be getting his vaccinations, and then seeing that there's been measles cases in the area, we just wanted to get it done for him.
2025 is now the worst year for measles in Canada since the disease was eradicated in 1998. Provincial health authorities are reporting 912 cases of measles so far this year, breaking the record of 752 cases in 2011. And that might not even be a complete picture.
You have to also recognize that this is confirmed cases, and whatever number that you hear confirmed, you probably need to multiply that because it's going to be an underestimate.
Ontario schools have started suspending students who aren't fully vaccinated. Measles is one of the most contagious diseases, and it can burn through those without immunity like wildfire. In Ontario, most of those sick and all those hospitalized, 6 are kids that haven't had the jab. In Alberta, fears of a new measles outbreak. The province is reporting 50 cases, but there are fears it will spread further. Vaccination rates are as low or even lower than 50% in some communities.
We're probably looking at the beginning of a significant measles outbreak.
Measles kills by causing the brain to swell or infecting the lungs until they fail. That's how a kid in Texas died of measles earlier this month, the second child killed by the virus this year in the state. Neither had been vaccinated. Doctors fear there could be deaths in Canada too this year if it continues to spread.
This is not a small infection. This is a big deal disease. You do not want to have what people call natural immunity from measles because the risk of having measles itself is so significant.
And Jennifer, there is some concern from doctors that after nearly 30 years, Canada could lose its measles elimination status.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it is a real risk. So if the virus keeps on spreading in the community uninterrupted for 12 months straight, that's when experts would say that measles is once again endemic to Canada. And right now, we're halfway there. The outbreak has been going on since October. But it's not an inevitability. If the communities that are being hit hard really come together and do everything they can to protect themselves, protect their kids, protect other vulnerable people, then measles doesn't have to come back and become endemic in Canada again.
Jennifer, thanks.
You're welcome.
The U.S. Supreme Court is ordering the Trump administration to take steps to return a man sent to a notorious prison in El Salvador by mistake. Kilmar Garcia, an El Salvadoran migrant who is in the U.S. legally, was rounded up and sent to a sprawling facility dogged by reports of human rights abuses. Trump administration lawyers later admitted he was sent by mistake, but has fought efforts to get him back. The Supreme Court now says the government must facilitate Garcia's return and grant him due process. As the Trump administration slashes health programs and jobs, the Canadian Medical Association sees a silver lining. It wants provinces to quickly reach out to disillusioned doctors and scientists. Georgie Smythe shows us the appeal and the challenges to bringing doctors north.
Crowds of laid-off healthcare workers line up outside federal buildings as promised cuts to jobs and spending take effect.
As part of President Trump's DOGE workforce reduction initiative, we're going to streamline HHS.
But those losses could be Canada's gain, with agencies here seeing a surge of inquiries from doctors thinking of relocating north.
There's no question the U.S. physicians are interested in coming to Canada.
But Canadian authorities need to turn that interest into offers, she says.
And so if you can demonstrate that you're a province where there's less paperwork, where people can seek out research if they're interested, where they will be supported to do the work that they really feel passionate about, that weighs a lot when someone's thinking about where they want to work.
Currently, only BC, Ontario, New Brunswick and Nova Scotia have fast-track pathways for US physicians to migrate and work in Canada without needing additional exams or supervision.
So I just Googled jobs in Toronto, which is where I'm from, and they had job offers and said that Americans were invited. And I was, whoa.
Dr. Karen Ginsberg is transferring her American qualifications to work in Ontario starting next year.
The sentiment as a physician here in the United States right now is it's been quite depressing. It's not the medicine itself. It's the way our country is going right now and the way medicine has gone, and it's a mess. It's a big mess.
But recruiters warn it'll take some time to settle people.
By the time they get licensed, interview process, I mean, you're talking at least a month to maybe 2 months, and then they have to give notice where they are. So we usually say, you're looking at 3 to 6 months.
For years, Canada has turned to other countries to recruit healthcare workers. Now expect provinces to get louder and more targeted to speak directly to Americans. Georgie Smythe, CBC News, Vancouver.
The closure of a breakfast cereal plant in Ontario will put 150 people out of work by year's end. Post Consumer Brands is phasing out its facility in Cobourg, east of Toronto, but there's no link to tariffs. The company says it's also shutting a plant in Nevada as the market for breakfast cereal keeps shrinking. There's new data tonight about the number of Canadians no longer traveling to the U.S.
They feel unwelcome. They feel that being singled out just because the place of birth.
Why growing numbers are staying away from the border. Next. Plus, a geographic oddity, feeling the heat from those cross-border tensions.
You can't eat breakfast without thinking about politics.
The view from a U.S. community surrounded by Canada. And later, a Raptors fan hits the jackpot from downtown. The big shot he made under pressure. The search for survivors is over after a roof collapsed at a nightclub Tuesday in the Dominican Republic. Crews are now focused on recovering the bodies of those still missing. The death toll has now climbed to 218. Hundreds more are injured. Investigators are still working to figure out what caused the collapse. New data tonight shows a growing number of Canadians are refusing to travel to the U.S. as political tensions rise. As Sophia Harris shows us, for many, that decision is driven by fear.
This travel agency caters to Canada's Iranian community. And there's one country right now most clients refuse to visit.
From middle of March, we haven't sold even one ticket to U.S.
The manager says the reason? Iranian Canadians being interrogated at the U.S. border, including some of her clients.
They feel unwelcome. They feel that being singled out just because the place of birth.
Iranian Canadians aren't the only ones staying away. The number of times Canadians visited the U.S. plummeted in March compared to last year, down by 13% for air travel and down by almost 1/3 for land travel. One reason for the decline, reports of heightened security at the border, including the detainment of 2 German tourists, a backpacker from Wales, and Canadian Jasmine Mooney, who spent 11 days in detention after her work visa was denied.
You're literally stuck in this cell with no daylight, nothing.
In past administrations, you wouldn't see these cases. It's almost like the pendulum has gone 180 degrees. From low enforcement to just maximum enforcement.
Even travelers heading to conferences are worried. This chemistry professor canceled plans to speak at an upcoming conference in Honolulu. She has Canadian and American citizenship, but still fears trouble at the border due to her advocacy for diversity, equity, and inclusion.
I feel some responsibility to support the conference, but I also don't want to put myself in a position of danger, possibly. It wouldn't surprise me if there's some profile on me at this point.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection told CBC News the Trump administration is cracking down on bad actors to secure its borders and that lawful travelers should have nothing to fear. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Vancouver.
A northern U.S. community is feeling especially isolated when it comes to ongoing border tensions.
We might have a really rude awakening, ahead of us.
Karen Pauls checks in with residents surrounded by Canada on 3 sides. The National is on the road this election hearing from you. And tonight, so are Rosie and At Issue.
Hey, Asha. I'm in Halifax with Chantal, Andrew, and Althea. We're at the Central Public Library to a sold-out crowd of dedicated At Issue fans. We're going to look at what's happened this week on the campaign trail, the leaders, the endorsements, the treatment of the media, how it's all playing out with just over 2 weeks to go.
The Pope made a surprise appearance today at St. Peter's Basilica, wearing black trousers instead of his usual papal attire. Francis was breathing with the help of an oxygen tube as he continues to recover from pneumonia. On Wednesday, he met privately with King Charles and Camilla during their state visit in Italy. The trade war is making life awkward for 100 or so Americans living in a cut-off corner of the U.S. The only way to drive there is through Manitoba. So Karen Pauls hit the road and asked about the threat to annex their close Canadian neighbors.
It's time for brunch, and Callie Knight is making eggs. At nearly $1 US per egg, this Democrat is also making a statement.
Grocery prices have not gone down. You can't eat breakfast without thinking about politics.
Knight is worried things will get even worse once the full effect of tariffs hits. Still, she supports Canada's attempt to fight back.
The Americans need to feel the pain so that we understand that this is not how you play nice. This is not how you cultivate good relationships.
People in this northernmost Minnesota community know all about the importance of good relationships, especially with Canadians. This area only exists because of a surveyor's mistake on a 1755 map. The Angle is the only part of the United States outside of Alaska north of the 49th parallel. Surrounded on 3 sides by Canada, cut off from the U.S. mainland by Lake of the Woods, it has no land connection with the rest of the state. The only way to get here by road is through Manitoba.
I'm headed into town. Okay. Do you need anything?
Yeah. Paul and Karen Colson are preparing for what they hope will be a busy summer fishing season. Like most folks here, they make their living on tourism. He's American, she's Canadian. They know things are a bit tense right now.
The friend is worse than the foe in terms of trade.
When you take away that artificial line that looks like it was done with a ruler.
What I'd like to see, Canada become our 51st state.
They're not holding the cards. There is no winning this for Canada.
Well, I think there's always going to be compromise.
A recent Leger poll found 1 in 5 Americans would like their state to join Canada, more than double the proportion of Canadians who want to become the 51st state. The poll also found only 1 in 3 Americans support Trump's tariffs, and 2/3 of U.S. respondents are worried border levies will increase the prices of groceries, like meat, dairy, and eggs.
We might have a really rude awakening, ahead of us.
Karen Pauls, CBC News, Northwest Angle, Minnesota.
Now, Rosie is here with a very special edition of At Issue.
We have hit the road, and we're in Halifax. Good. And we have an incredible live audience. We didn't prompt them to do that at all. Chantal, Andrew, and Althea are all here live too. Let's get right to it. At Issue, leaders head west. Mark Carney tries to win over BC and Alberta.
You don't need to tell me what Alberta's like. I'm from Alberta. I know this province. Tons of friends here. I got family here. I've known here. I grew it up here.
As Pierre Poilievre got a big push from Stephen Harper.
My choice, without hesitation, without equivocation, without a shadow of a doubt, is Pierre Poilievre.
National is traveling across the country to hear from voters, like all of you, through the campaign. So we're here at the beautiful Halifax Central Library. So great to be here in person. So great to have these folks in person. You know them all, but I'll introduce them anyway. Chantal Hébert, Andrew Coyne, and Althea Raj. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for traveling. Okay, let's get right to it. We want to talk about the week that we've had so far. A couple of things have stood out. Both time that was spent in the West, talk of Western alienation, an endorsement by former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Chantal, I'll start with you. Where do you think we are in this kind of weird third week of the campaign?
Yeah, third weeks are rarely defining weeks, and some of the destinations are dictated by logistics. Next week, the debates will take place in Montreal, so all campaigns are going to head there for debate prep, which involves people faking that they are someone else so that the leader who is practicing believes that Mark Carney is actually standing there. So the Western Canada thing for third week also makes sense, especially for the Conservatives. They're not going to spend a lot of time in Alberta or Saskatchewan after this. Why? Because they've got this territory sewn up. BC for the Liberals, for all campaigns, for the NDP, makes a lot of sense. Why? Well, for the NDP, because survival goes through BC. If they lose BC, there's not going to be very much left of them, including their leader in the House of Commons. So they have to campaign there. The Liberals, same reason, but in the reverse. This is where they're hoping to gain off the NDP the most, because this is where the NDP has the most seats. Stephen Harper and the campaigns that I've covered, former prime ministers tend to show up when you need wind in your sails, when you don't manage to get it yourself. Pierre Trudeau campaigned twice in '84 for John Turner. Other prime ministers, Jean Chrétien at the tail end of 2011 showed up. It usually doesn't make a big difference.
And the fact that it was a very large rally, it was in Edmonton, which was kind of telling. The fact that you would bring out, I think it was maybe just because Mr. Harper was available in Alberta, but the fact that you would do that in Alberta, and the fact that the former Prime Minister was there for Pierre Poilievre, what does that tell you, Andrew?
It tells you it's not going terribly well for them, I think in three ways. One is, after enormous movement in the polls before the election, once the election campaign has started, it looks pretty baked in. Not a lot of movement has happened. The Tories have been throwing everything they can at Mark Carney. It doesn't seem to have dented his appeal amongst the people who find him appealing. So first thing. Secondly, it really does seem to have turned into a two-party race more than any race in my lifetime. Between the Conservatives and the Liberals might get 80% of the vote in this election. The last time that happened, I think, was in 1957, 58. This is unusual. And obviously, when the NDP vote is down, that's not good for the Conservatives. And the third thing is, it seems to be very much driven by the leaders. Obviously, every election is, but more so than ever, I think. Mark Carney is polling ahead of Liberals. Pierre Poilievre is polling behind the Conservatives. It really does seem to be the case that a critical mass of the voters have taken a look at the two candidates, two leaders, and have said, I prefer Mark Carney. So the Tories are in a ditch right now, and they've got a relative little time left to dig themselves out of it.
And they seem to be talking and pointing to the rallies a lot. You've heard Mr. Poilievre himself say, look at how big these rallies were in these different places. And sure, that's a sign of support, but they seem to think that it is something bigger, that it is a sign of a broader movement. What do you make of those claims and the way they're positioning those things, Althea?
It's an interesting strategy because it reminds people of Donald Trump and how big his rallies were and how much he talked about his rallies. But it also reminds people, I think, of 2015, where the Liberals tried to use the rallies to show momentum. And I think that that is what the Conservatives were trying to show. I don't think Mr. Harper's endorsement is shocking. I mean, of course, the Conservative Prime Minister was going to endorse Pierre Poilievre. It would have been news if he hadn't, frankly.
But he didn't endorse the last two. He didn't go out for Andrew Scheer. He didn't go out for Aaron
endorse
O'Toole.
them. He did not
endorse them. He just didn't do a big
in a
thing. Sure.
very public way. In a way, like to Chantal's point, Brian Mulroney was dished out in the last week of Aaron O'Toole's campaign. And they tried to do that a little bit with Brian Mulroney's memory through Caroline Mulroney last week. But what is more interesting is who is Pierre Poilievre talking to and why. So here, they're in Edmonton. The Liberals actually think they can pick up about 5 seats in Alberta. So there's a strategic reason why you want to go to Edmonton and re-energize the party faithful. But I also wonder if maybe they feel the writing is on the wall, and I say this believing that I think the Conservatives, there's a pathway still to victory. But if Mr. Poilievre wants to remain the Conservative Party leader, he needs to win a leadership vote if he loses. And one way he will do that is to continue to tack to the right, because that's where the grassroots is. So I think there's like 2 things happening at the same time.
But it's still a competitive race. It is not over. But pick up on whatever part you want there.
Well, first the rallies. Rallies do not, they're supposed to project momentum, but they do not tell you the state of a campaign. If they did, Pierre Trudeau would have won. I was a very young journalist walking from work in Toronto, and you walk right next to Maple Leaf Gardens in '79. So I walked into a Liberal rally, convinced me that I didn't want to be someone holding a, but I did like politics. But there were 20,000 people in there. Well, Pierre Trudeau lost the election. It was interesting but meaningless. But in the case of the dynamics of this campaign, I think it's counterproductive. And why do I say that? Because the reality, Andrew spoke about this, the reality is that the NDP and the Bloc vote, part of it, is flocking to the Liberals out of fear of Donald Trump, but also out of fear of Pierre Poilievre. And the more you show those big crowds to spooked voters, the more they're saying this guy could still win.
Just the opposite, yeah.
And it solidifies votes for the Liberals that Pierre Poilievre can't get. The best case scenario for him would be to find a way to send them home to the NDP and the Bloc.
And it's not just the size of the rallies, it's who goes out to them and what is the message they're hearing. So these are, love fests for Pierre Poilievre, love fests in particular for the most harsh, culture war, vituperative edge of his campaign. They love that stuff. He loves that stuff, but that's not the kind of voter they need to reach. And I think in many ways this campaign has failed to take stock of the way that the electoral landscape changed post Justin Trudeau, post Trudeau's tariff war, post the entry of Mark Carney. They're still running the same ideas and the same approach that they did before that, and one of which is they still think it's all about ginning up the base, getting out the turnout, and not trying to appeal to people who aren't already in the base. And Tories go back and forth on this debate. They certainly placed their bets on the turnout strategy this time, and it's not working for them.
Last word to you, because that is, they need to broaden their coalition, and we don't know if that's being successful right now or if rallies do that. About a minute to you.
Andrew's right. The biggest problem is that they haven't shifted their strategy. Rallies are incredibly expensive and they're resource intensive. And the Conservatives used to tell us they would rather have people knocking on doors and identifying their voters than spending time and energy getting people who already converted out to rallies. And now that you're facing a very competitive election, you wonder why they have decided to pursue this strategy. But I think beyond that, what we've seen is that the Liberals have basically borrowed, stolen, whatever word you want to use, the Conservative Party's not necessarily exact policies, but some similar policies and some of their wording. And the Liberals are trying to basically nullify the policy issue so that the ballot issue is a question about leadership. And on that question, Mark Carney wins head and shoulders above Pierre Poilievre. And the Poilievre camp, the Conservative camp, has not adjusted yet.
Okay, got to take a short break here because that's part of TV2. We're going to come back here from the library in downtown Halifax in a minute. We're going to look at the leaders, the media, and how all of that is playing out in the campaign. At issue, a special edition, Canada Votes. Welcome back to Halifax. We're here at the Central Library with our amazing live studio audience. Let's get back to it. At issue, media relations. The Conservative campaign tightly controls which reporters get to ask which questions. This week, a reporter who wasn't approved to ask hers shouted it out.
Sorry, there's just a protester here. Go ahead. All right.
It's a reporter trying to ask
Sorry.
a legitimate question.
We're listening.
All right, so what's to be made of how party leaders are dealing with the media? How is this affecting the campaign? How is it helping or hurting their strategies? Chantal, Andrew, and Althea all with me here in Halifax. I'm going to start with you, Andrew. We're asking this question because Pierre Poilievre has taken a particular approach to the media. There's no media on the campaign bus or plane, which is typical, but also because of the way he's restricting questions, choosing who gets questions, not allowing follow-ups, and sometimes even his people suggesting questions to the journalists. What do you make of this highly controlled approach?
Oh, and even further, cooping them up in little pens, you know, on a giant parking lot, you know. There's some people who say, well, this is very silly, you know, that's a front runner strategy where you try to avoid questions to play it safe. Why are you doing that when you're behind? My theory is it's not about avoiding questions. I think the intent is to humiliate and confront. I think they're still locked in this idea of our base loves it when we confront the media. Our base loves it when we engage in a confrontational tone with them. This will make the media mad. It'll make us look like we're in control and dominating them. Right. And this will play really well at home. Sure. I can't imagine that's helpful to them with anybody other than their committed followers, but they are so locked into this. I think it's instinctive for them. He learned this from Harper, who used to do it as well. The odd thing is, whenever either Poilievre or Harper actually take questions, they're really good. Yeah. They're articulate, intelligent people. They're good spokesmen for their cause if they can just get outside their own heads, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, Pierre Poilievre could take a question from anybody. He's not a new politician, unlike Mark Carney.
It's not like he doesn't know his brief.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. What do you think, Althea?
Although I don't think we've seen that. Like when he's in a long form podcast, he just did one with a Quebec host, his answers are thoughtful. You may or may not agree with what he's saying, but he can express his point of view and he's not shy of actually addressing the substance of the question. I think that they wanted to just control the message very clearly so that there would not be, questions about abortion or a question about Bill 21 or questions about any tricky issues that were not on the core things that they wanted to talk about. And so without, taking a follow-up question away from a reporter, so usually the reporter asks a question, the politician speaks, and then you say, well, you didn't really answer my question, refocusing so that the person can elaborate on what their thought is. Taking that away because they have somebody holding the microphone and taking it back means that he can just say whatever talking point he wants to say, and the voter and the journalist who's reporting on this is not well served because there's nothing. But it's more than just that strategy. The other part of the strategy is, and we, the media, are complicit in this because we've allowed it to happen, he goes on for 30 minutes, 15 minutes in French, 15 minutes in English about whatever he wants to say. That is broadcast on TV, and then he takes 4 questions and no follow-ups. And yes, everything you said is accurate about trying to shape some of the, especially local journalists' questions. But at some point, we should be speaking out and saying, this is outrageous. You're not even giving us equal time to ask questions, and you want to be the prime minister of the country, and you're not accountable now? At what point do we believe that you will be accountable, that you will be willing to submit yourself to questions that are not just talking points that you want us to cover?
Let's get Chantal in.
To go back to your point about he's able to answer questions. It goes beyond that. Some of the better days that Pierre Poilievre has had reaching outside his tent have been days when he was challenged by some of his own members on abortion rights or same-sex marriage and had to come down with a very clear position. So the notion that he would fear questions on abortion or any question boggles my mind. I think they kind of outplayed themselves with the strategy of not having a media tour on the plane for stupid reasons. They're not getting all the coverage that they would like. I'm in Montreal. I'm trying to find, it's early in the morning, I have to do radio. I know Stephen Harper showed up in Edmonton. I want to see what happened there before I go on radio. I go through the entire media. I find two big websites. I'm not going to name them, but mainstream organizations, they still have stories up that say Stephen Harper is going to introduce Pierre Poilievre, and I'm thinking, did I miss this? Was it not last night? Finally, the CBC has it. But the reason why it's not getting that coverage has to do also with logistics. If you are not on a leader's plane, and you need to follow that leader, you need to travel to the next morning's venue overnight. You also need to find a place to sleep. And you need to drive. So you may not be doing the rallies because you need to get to whatever place. So logistically, they're losing out, but also the penning and parking lots. Their strategy means there are a lot more local reporters who will show up. It's not a good idea to mistreat local reporters. They're not disliked in their communities, and they tell those stories because they don't live in that environment in the way that people who cover Parliament Hill all the time and cover campaigns do. So for me, I don't really care how I'm treated in a campain. I also think Stephen Harper treated us a bit better than what I've been seeing, to be fair to him. But I believe that they are shooting themselves in the foot in the way that they've handled this.
And on this, because I'm not trying to make this about the media, but why does it matter why we're talking about this? Why does it matter?
It matters. I mean, on one level, you can say, look, they're entitled to their own electoral strategy, and at one point that is. But they're also under an obligation, I think, maybe in their own larger self-interest, to be accountable. And like it or not, we, as imperfect as we are part of the instrument by which they are held to account. So is Parliament, so is the law courts, et cetera. But if you're not willing to subject yourself to that, some of the voters who are looking at you are going to draw their own conclusions. Why aren't you willing to do this? They're also passing up on the opportunity that so-called earned media reporting affords. Look at what Mark Carney's doing. Now, he has the advantage of being the prime minister at a time of crisis. But my God, is he milking it? You know, he goes out and he does these press conferences and he puts on this very somber face and he announces to the country what's just happened to us. And, you know, I think he gains every time he does that, even though he's not doing it through a YouTube video. You know, he's actually using the media. Well, it turns out that actually helps.
Okay, we got to leave this part there. Thank you all very much. This part was great. But we are going to be back from Halifax tomorrow, too. We're going to have more on Friday night, and that part will be about the audience. They're going to ask some of their best questions, how they're going to make a decision for this election, and we'll do our best to answer them. And with that, I'll send things back to Asha in Toronto.
Thanks, Rosie. Coming up, a Raptors fan dials it up from long distance.
I took the shot. I just couldn't believe what happened.
The impossible shot for season tickets. Next in our moment. Raptors fan Liam Rodriguez made an incredible half-court shot last night. He won season tickets, and this is the precise instant the ball left his hands. When it finally came down, it was nothing but net. So tonight, Liam's beautiful shot makes our moment.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I was a little bit nervous. That's what I was trying to do, was just get it to the net. I honestly thought I left it a little bit short, and then it just fell through. I was lucky, kind of just went straight in. Just couldn't believe what happened.
You saw that, right?
It was just a bit of a blur from there.
You want season seat tickets for next season?
Best part has probably been just all the people that I haven't spoken to in years that have just reached out to say congrats. That's been really cool.
Congratulations! Oh my goodness, how do you feel right now?
Feeling good. My mom was able to come onto the court. It was her first Raptors game, so that was a really cool experience to share as well.
Look, first of all, that's an incredible bucket some NBAers can't even do. And apparently Liam only played ball in elementary. Second of all, it's really like the lottery, isn't it? So now all his friends are coming out of the woodwork wanting to go to a Raps game, but he's got the right playbook, putting his fiancée and his future father-in-law at the top of the list. Congrats, Liam. Thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to the National's YouTube channel. I'm Asha Tomlinson. Take care.